Hello friends, I am Vidya Patil, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering in Sharad Institute of Technology, Polytechnic, Yadra. Today we are going to continue our unit number 5, that is refrigeration and air conditioning, for the subject power engineering and refrigeration. Today in this session we are going to cover the reverse Carnot cycle and vapor compression cycle. And in vapor compression cycle we are going to see the principle and working of vapor compression cycle and the superheating and subcooling of vapor compression cycle. First we start from the reverse Carnot cycle. Okay. In a machine working on reverse Carnot cycle that act as a refrigerator, and if it's driven by the power from an external source, okay, and would be a theoretically most efficient. In reversing the Carnot cycle does reverse the direction of heat and working interactions. A refrigerator or a heat pump that operates on reverse Carnot cycle, that is called as the Carnot refrigerator or the Carnot heat pump. In reverse Carnot cycle is the most efficient refrigeration cycle, operating between two specified temperature levels, that is low temperature and high temperature levels, and it sets the highest theoretical COP, that is coefficient of performance. If the machine has been used in practice, because the adiabatic portion of a piston stroke needs high speed, while in isothermal portion of the piston stroke need extremely slow speed, and this variation of speed is not possible in actual practices. Okay. In reverse Carnot cycle, here in this there is a schematic of the Carnot refrigerator. Okay, here we can see there is a at 1 to 2 there is a evaporator and low temperature, that is cold medium at TL, and 2 to 3 there is a compressor is situated, and 3 to 4 there is a condenser, that is TH high temperature warm medium at TH, and 4 to 1 again there is a turbine. Here at there is in a reversed Carnot cycle there are two isothermal processes and two adiabatic processes. Okay, in 1 to 2 that is reversible isothermal process at heat absorption condition, and 2 to 3 there is a reversible adiabatic compression to at higher temperature, that is TH, and 3 to 4 that is reversible isothermal process, and here the heat is rejected at higher temperature, that is TH, and again 4 to 1 that is reversible adiabatic expansion process to lower temperature, that is TL. Here we can see that is in 1 to 2 there is refrigerant absorbs the heat isothermally from low temperature source at TL in the amount of QL, that is QL, that is the heat absorption, amount of heat absorbed, okay, at TL, that is cold medium, and 2 to 3 here we can see the refrigeration, there is a compressor is situated between 2 to 3, so the refrigerant can be compressed here at the state 3, that is temperature rises to TH, okay, at 3, and 3 to 4 there is refrigerant reject the heat, at 1 to 2 refrigerant absorb heat, and 3 to 4 refrigerant reject heat to high temperature, that is TH, okay, and the amount of that heat is rejected, that is QH. Okay, so refrigerant changes from saturated vapor state to saturated liquid state in the condenser. Okay, in condenser where the vapor changes its state, that is from saturated vapor state to the saturated liquid state at the condenser, and 4 to 1 there is a turbine is situated where the refrigeration expands adiabatically at state 1. Okay, and because of this expansion process the temperature drops, that is temperature drops from TH to TL, that is the processes. Here again in this schematic diagram, in TS diagram, we can see the reverse Carnot cycle process. Again same situation is explained here, that is 1 to 2 that is evaporator, 2 to 3 there is a compression process, 3 to 4 again there is a heat rejection process, and 4 to 1 there is again expansion process. And here in TS diagram we can see these all processes, that is 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 and 4 to again 1. Okay, that is TL to TH, and these all processes of this Carnot cycle, heat absorption and heat rejection, this process takes place at constant temperature. We can see here at constant temperature pressure all heat absorption and heat rejection processes takes place, and this compression and expansion is adiabatic. Okay, this is about TS diagram of reverse Carnot cycle. Again here the pressure and pH and TS diagrams are shown. First 1 to 2 that is adiabatic compression process, where the working fluid, that is with the aid of external work, the temperature of the fluid rises from T2 to again T1. Here in this we in a pH diagram we can see here 1 to 2 there is adiabatic compression, and 3 to 4 that is adiabatic expansion process, and again 4 to 1 that is isothermal expansion, and 2 to 3 there is the isothermal compression. So in 2 to 3 in isothermal compression of the working fluid, during which heat is rejected at constant high temperature T1, and again 3 to 4 that is adiabatic expansion of the working fluid, and the temperature of the working fluid falls from T2 to T1, and 4 to 1 that is isothermal expansion, so of air, where the heat is absorbed at low temperature T2 from the space being cooled. This is all adiabatic expansion, adiabatic expansion and compression process, and 2 isothermal compression and expansion process are explained in this figure. Now we'll see the COP of the refrigerator. Here the heat is absorbed, that is Q2, and heat is rejected, that is Q1. So heat absorbed Q2 is equal to T2 ds, and heat rejected, that is Q1 is equal to T1 ds. So work input is equal to heat rejected minus heat absorbed. So Q1 minus Q2. So work input is equal to T1 minus T2 ds. So coefficient of performance of refrigeration, that is cooling effect, is equal to cooling effect divided by work input, that is QL divided by W net. Okay, that is net work done. So Q2 divided by Q1 minus Q2. So COP of the refrigerator is equal to T2 ds divided by T1 minus T2 ds. So again here he is explained as another way, that is COP of the refrigerator is equal to heat absorbed divided by work supplied. So work supplied is equal to the heat rejected minus heat absorbed. So heat absorbed divided by heat rejected minus heat absorbed. So again COP of the refrigerator is equal to T2 divided by T1 minus T2 is the another way of the COP refrigeration. Next we can see again here PV and TS diagrams are shown for the reversed Carnot cycle. Again we can see in the same way. So next we see the vapor compression cycle. Okay, the principle and working of this vapor compression cycles are: it is the simple vapor compression cycle. This is the most popular and widely used in refrigeration and air conditioning for both domestic and industrial applications, and it is generally used for the purpose of small domestic refrigerator to a big industrial air conditioning plant. And the vapor compression refrigeration system is improved type of the refrigeration system in which the suitable working substance term of the refrigerant is used, and it contains and evaporates at a temperature and pressure close to the atmospheric condition. Here in vapor compression cycle, the liquid is used as a refrigerant in the place of air, as in case of air refrigeration cycle, and the liquid refrigerants boils the evaporator which is at low pressure by absorbing the latent heat, and vapors formed are condensed in the condenser, which is at high pressure by rejecting the latent heat. So the vapor compression cycle transfers the heat in the form of sensible heat as well as latent heat, and giving the higher coefficient of performance. The refrigerants are generally used are ammonia, carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide. In a vapor compression cycle, generally mostly four components are used, that are evaporator, compressor, condenser and expansion valve. Okay, now we see this working of this vapor compression cycle. In schematic diagram we can see here at yellow color there is a first compressor is situated, and at 1 to 2 there is a evaporator, between 1 to 2 there is a evaporator is situated, 2 to 3 there is a compressor, 3 to 4 there is a condenser is situated, and 4 to 1 there is a expansion device is situated. Okay, so first we see one by one here. First we start from the compressor. At compressor there is a compression process starts, where the low pressure vapor in dry state is drawn from the evaporator during the suction stroke of the compressor, and during compression the pressure and temperature increases until the vapor temperature is greater than the temperature of the condenser cooling medium. Okay, next 3 to 4 there is a condenser where condensation process is going on, where when the high pressure refrigerant vapor after the compression enters into the condenser, and cooling medium absorbs the heat and converts that vapor into liquid into condensation process. Next is the 4 to 1 there, where the expansion device is placed. Here in the after expansion the liquid refrigerant is stored in liquid reservoir, and the liquid from the reservoir is passed to the evaporator through the expansion valve, and this expansion valve reduces the pressure by keeping enthalpy constant, and the process taking place is throttling process. Next is the 4 to 1 that is again 1 to 2, that is evaporator process, and again the low pressure liquid refrigerants after the expansion enters in evaporator, where the considerable amount of heat is absorbed by it and by the evaporator, and evaporator converts that into vapor, and this vapor at low pressure is sucked into suction line of compressor. This is all the working of this vapor compression cycle. In an air refrigeration system, working medium that is absolutely air, and which absorbs heat from this evaporator and reject heat in the heat exchanger, and this absorption and rejection of the heat involves only sensible heat. Therefore the coefficient of performance of the system is less, and large quantity of air is required to get refrigerating effect. And this in vapor compression system, working medium is air replaced by the liquid, and therefore it involves sensible as well as latent heat, and the coefficient of performance of the vapor compression system is more than air refrigeration system. Okay, this all energy transfer by work and heat are taken as a positive in the directions of the arrows on the schematic, and energy balance are written accordingly here in this schematic diagram. Okay, now again these processes are given here of 4 to 1, that is two-phase liquid vapor mixture of refrigerant is evaporated through heat transfer from the refrigerated space. Here in pH diagram we can see here again 1 to 2 there is a compressor. In pH diagram this is shown here, that is 2 to 3 there is condensation, 3 to 4 that is expansion, 4 to 1 is again evaporation. And two-phase liquid vapor mixture of refrigerant evaporated through heat transfer from the refrigerated space, and process 1 to 2 the compressor is placed, and where vapor refrigerant is compressed to relatively high temperature and pressure requiring the work input. And 2 to 3 there condensation, where refrigerant condenses to liquid through heat transfer to the cooler surrounding. And 3 to 4 that is liquid refrigerant expands to the evaporator temperature. Again, in a TS diagram also we can see again where there is saturated line, wet region, then saturated vapor, then vapor converts into a liquid after the condensation. These all processes are shown in pH and TS diagram. Here there is superheated region and subcooled region also shown in this diagram. Okay, next now we see the subcooling and superheating. First we understand what is superheating and subcooling. In simple vapor compression cycle, the compressor suction the dry saturated vapor. Okay, and if some liquid refrigerant enters in the suction line of compressor, due to wet compression, lubricating oil present in the compressor will be washed off, causing more wear and tear of the compressor, and effective life of the compressor because of that reduces. But we know that the compressor is the main important component in the vapor compression cycle, and thus in order to increase the life of compressor, refrigerant vapor coming out to evaporators is allowed to stay from some more time in evaporator to ensure dry saturated or superheated vapor at a evaporator exit. So it is necessary to increase the temperature of refrigerant vapor more than the saturated temperature in evaporator, and that process is called as a superheating. Here in again in actual refrigeration cycle, the temperature of the heat sink will be several degrees lower than the condensing temperature to facilitate the heat transfer. Hence it is possible to cool the refrigerant liquid in the condenser to a few degrees lower than the condensing temperature by adding extra area of heat transfer. Okay, in such a case the exit condition of the condenser will be in the subcooled liquid region, so the process is known as subcooling. So similarly, the temperature of heat source will be a few degrees higher than the evaporator temperature, then hence the vapor at the exit of the evaporator can be superheated by a few degrees. So superheating of refrigerator takes place due to heat transfer with refrigerator space, and then it is called useful superheating as it increases the refrigeration effect. And other hand, if possible for the refrigerant vapor to become superheated by exchanging heat with the surrounding as it flows through the connecting pipelines, such superheating is called as a unless superheating, as it does not increase refrigeration effect. So subcooling is beneficial as it increases the refrigeration effect by reducing the throttling loss. Okay, at no addition specific work input. So subcooling ensures only the liquid enters into the throttling device, loading to its efficient operation. So we see the effect of superheating first. Here in this figure, figure A and B, we can see the effect of superheating. So at increase the refrigeration effect, but this superheating, this increase the refrigeration effect, but the cost of the increase in amount of work spent to attain the upper pressure limit. So since the increase in work is more as compared to the increase of refrigeration effect, therefore at the overall effect of the superheating is to give a low value of coefficient of performance. Okay, here in this figure we can see that is 1 dash to 1 here, that is superheating when the after evaporation air is enters into the compression, or before compression the air is superheated. Here we can see at 1 dash to 1. And again now in subcooling, is the process of cooling the liquid refrigerant below the condensation temperature for giving pressure. In figure also we can see this process of subcooling as shown in 2 dash to 3 dash. So as evident from the figure, the effect of subcooling is to increase the refrigeration effect. So the subcooling results in increase of coefficient of performance provided that no further energy has to be spent to obtain the extra cold coolant required. Here in this pressure and enthalpy pH diagram also we can see here there is after condensation there is a undercooling process. 2 dash to 3 dash there is at the condensation process there is a undercooling, that means a subcooling process is carried out. Okay, in this session we are cover the vapor compression cycle and reversed Carnot cycle, and next session we are going to cover the refrigerants, then properties of refrigerants and various refrigerants, that is selection of refrigerants for the specific applications. Okay, thank you.